Cad Bane Blue has been a very strong deck out of the gate for Ashes of the Empire, and while the set isn't technically released, everyone's really well aware of the power level of that deck. Cad Bane in general is also the center of many discussions going on just because of how strong the leader is. But today we're going to come at a Cad Bane discussion from a slightly different angle than what everyone's used to. Rather than talk about the blue deck, we're going to talk about Cad Bane Yellow. And I am Sharkey from the Colorado Cantina crew, and today I am joined by my good friend Yodakiller from the Bothan Network. How you doing, buddy?
Good, buddy. I'm excited to be here. Excited to talk about CAD.
Yeah, so let's just dive right into it. What do we have here? We have Cad Bane, and I know everyone's kind of sick of Cad Bane, but this one might be a little more interesting for those who are tired of seeing the blue version everywhere.
Yeah, 100%. This is Cad Bane Yellow. I'm calling this deck Death by Decisions. But I think the first big topic, though, that we need to talk about is, what we're seeing with a specific Cad Blue deck and what they're trying to do.
Yeah, that sounds like a good start. As soon as I hit the right button there, we have Cad Bane Blue. The Cad Bane Blue. I can't speak. What do you think? Is he the best deck in the format right now?
I mean, it seems like he's an early favorite. I'm not gonna lie. I think in testing, it's absolutely everywhere. It has the best removal, best late game, um, just a lot of sticky units, little problematic units that they have, and all around, I do think it's a powerhouse. What do you think?
Oh, I'm biased. I think the blue guy's the best in every color. But yeah, I do think that if you're going to go into a tournament of any kind, like pretend there was one tomorrow where Ashes was legal, you have to at least be ready to combat Cad Bane Blue. I would agree with everything you just said there. So what is it that makes Cad Bane Blue strong?
Yeah, so kind of want to break down a little bit about Cad Bane Blue, but I think I want to kind of bucket Cad Bane Blue with mid range with control and kind of the overall strategy that they want to do in a game from start to finish. And I think like with Cash specifically, we'll use that. They have a lot of units that can maximize the ping, the damage, and these units can combine with the ping to make them weaker over the phase, and then from there, very easily with little ease, be able to remove the units. So it kind of has that very big synergy together with it. We'll talk a little bit more about these units and what they do. Um, Second big strategy, of course, is resourcing weaker cards early. You kind of want to start your game plan, start molding your hand based on how things are going. They like to hold premium removal. A big one, of course, that they have at their disposal is No Glory, Only Results, which is just an amazing catch-all removal card. You'll have like even removal like Collateral Damage, where you get 2-for-1 units. And then, of course, the big finish is like saving those big, gigantic units for the end. And we're talking about a lot of them, like Chimera, like Ninth Sister, Devastator, Previsla. Like,
That's a lot of cards
if
on
you,
7 and 8 right there.
and I don't know if you, I want to ask you this. I think that a lot of decks, do you notice that they're getting greedier
Oh
by
yeah.
having a lot of top end?
I have a feeling calling them greedy is almost an understatement nowadays because it's almost like the end of what was it, Secrets, where everyone was just getting as greedy as they possibly could at the top end and just grinding out games with those.
Exactly. And so I started to kind of think, okay, what can we do to combat that? And you and I have a lot of experience with the previous Cad Bane and being mid range and being yellow, Cad Bane Yellow lovers. That I think there's some kind of a niche target that you can do to kind of like throttle that. So if we take a look at kind of the overall strategy of yellow, and it's how do we attack this? And I think the biggest thing is discard and hand pressure. And I think you and I both have kind of seen, back in our days, is like how powerful Garinden is,
Oh, I
and
love
how
grinding.
powerful, yeah, how powerful like that being able to soul read someone and start to kind of like discard
I think I
cards
like
from
that
their hand.
description, the soul read right there. Like, I know what card you want to play, and I'm going to make sure you don't get to keep them in your hand.
Yep, and hold for questioning. How big was that?
Yeah. I mean, well, you
Or
get
doing
hold for
both
questioning
together.
into Garinden too, so that you already have the soul red. So now you can just continue to beat it down.
Exactly. So like the overall goal that I'm trying to accomplish here is like getting your opponent to in a tough place, right? Where they're like resourcing, discarding, preserving cards. They're making all of these decisions, and they're gonna like find a way to basically guess wrong. Because the more cards that you have in hand, the more options you have. But if you start to limit that, there's going to be a point that like maybe your opponent might have 2 cards in hand, and now they got to choose between holding them, which one they're going to resource because they need to hold an answer, and then like you kind of maneuver that to be like, well, you kind of actually kept the wrong card, and I'm going to punish you for it.
Yeah, and the continuation on that in some ways is the ninth sister can then punish them for keeping something big that they may want to play later. So let's continue on here. Do we have anything we didn't cover here?
So yeah, it's just like every decision they're gonna make, right? Every card that they discard is what we see here, right? Is damage that's not going to be played.
Yep.
Removal that they're not going to use. A late game threat that's never going to reach the board and threaten you. And then like their future turns are weakened, like their plan really just collapses because there's a constant pressure. And you're going to see the cards that we're going to talk about. You're going to see like, whoa, these cards are like not really known to be played at all. They're like terrible cards and like limited and sealed, but they kind of work in a very cohesive strategy if you really want to do something special with them.
Yeah, that's a affirmative right there. So let's talk about this whole package here. You've thrown together a deck for me, and you and I have gone back and forth on this a bunch. But I'm gonna let you take the lead on this one. Which card's your favorite one?
Oh, I mean, I think we're gonna go through each one of them in the slide in the future slides, but I wanted to put them all together. And I think I'm gonna ask you this: did you kind of envision that there was gonna be so many discard cards available?
No, I was not expecting this many. I wouldn't even say this quickly into a rotation. Now to think about it, this is the 5th set of a rotation that usually has 6. So I hadn't really considered it, but it looks like there's a lot more discard than I was really planning on there being. But maybe it's just me losing track. But there's a lot of really good cards here that can apply a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I mean we have 8 cards, and if you 8 times 3, it's 24. That's almost basically half your deck. Yep. So I want to talk about this card. I think I'm going to make a bold statement here. All right, I'm going to make a very, very bold statement. You can go to the next slide.
Struggle with it.
Okay, I'm going to talk about this card, Syril Karn. I think he is the scariest card that any aggro player like doesn't want to see. He gives me like what the nightmares I had when I would play an aggro deck and I would see Grogu on turn 1.
Yeah.
And I think that he is on par and powerful as Grogu was, combined with this leader. And it's just crazy. So one of the big things that he can do is take over a game from beginning to the end. I think he sets the tempo of you. If you have initiative and you have this in your hand and you want to play him, the game's going to change. If you can untap with it alive, the game really changes in your favor and kind of start pressuring like the opponent right away from the first attack. And I think like there's an example that we had, right, where we were like playing games and you were kind of telling me about having him with initiative, and then maybe they start with a 2/4, and what do? Like if it's your turn.
Yeah, if it's your turn, you don't even bother pinging. You just go right at him.
And then the decision happens. Do I lose my unit or do you discard your card?
Mm-hmm. And a lot of times the 2/4 won't even take out Syril, so they'd have to attack back in anyway if they really want to take care of him.
Yeah. So I think the surprise factor here is like these opponents are not realizing that that one discard is going to actually start snowballing an effect of the future of the deck, right? It's going to be kind of a surprise thing. So you even told me one time, right? Like one discard is enough for that guy.
Yep. One discard gives you enough of a momentum swing already that you don't have to get 2 or 3 discards from Syril or extra damage. Now, it's great when it happens, but he's a 2-drop. You only need to really do 2 damage on a discard or 2 damage plus 2 more. And I think he's already been worth it for your whole game plan. Everything else is just kind of like extra. So, is there anything else on this slide that we need to cover?
A couple more points. Aggro killer, I call it. I think this is how you beat space. But I think the big thing is and this is the big thing we're talking about, is he's your best turn one play, except against this card.
Yep.
If you are facing a leader that has these colors, I'm not going to play this turn one. I think you need to go with a different option, because nothing's worse than you playing this guy and then they play a unit, and then, or they claim, or they, they have initiative, maybe they play something, you play Syril, they claim, and then they just leave with this, and now you're too, you just lost control of the board.
Yeah, I think the one drawback for me playing Syril is that he's relatively easy to take care of outside of turn one. Even on turn one, he's not the hardest, but like going second with Syril is a significantly less it's a less happy turn than if you're going first with Syril. Let's just put it that way.
100%. But space decks can deal with that, though.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Not that easy.
Let's go to some of our other turn one players.
Yes. Yeah, talk to me a little bit about this guy.
BT is actually really nice, because I don't know if you've noticed, but Cad Bane as a leader also does tend to do a ping damage. He does 1 damage to a unit with 2 or more health. Funny story, BT also helps with that. So between Cad Bane and BT, you can actually take out a 2/4 on turn 1, assuming you hit the red, which you're usually setting the deck up to hit mostly red. He's also got the 2/4 stat line that everybody likes to have, because those just stick around for quite a while. But with Cad Bane changing the math on things, BT can kind of become a menace.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. Let's check out the next one.
All right. I should hit the right buttons.
Okay. This is not, these are turn one plays, but these are, I think I'm gonna rephrase this. These are 2 drops. We just call them 2 drops, but they're not something you're gonna want to play on turn one.
Yeah.
But they are
this one's a good
2
card
cost
still.
units.
Yeah.
It's still a great card. Yeah, nothing. I mean, this guy, enough said of this one. I think this is one of the most amazing cards, because you tap something down really early, like turn 2 maybe, and now they're gonna have to start discarding. Plus you're not taking any damage, and you can exhaust anything. By the way, doesn't have to be like, the clause is if it's 3 or less, you discard a card, but you can just basically tap down leaders, tap down ships, any unit.
Yep. I really like this guy as a later game play too. It's probably the best 2-drop to see late game because of that exhaust effect, and you don't really by then need the discard, but it is nice, I guess, if you get to hit it still.
Yep.
All right. We got my favorite character of this bunch. I actually love Gurinden. He's still probably my favorite card in the game. I did go out of my way to trade for a serialized Gurinden because I love the way it looks. Ideally, not another. He's another 2-drop that ideally isn't your turn 1 play, but it's not the worst turn 1 play you have. Being able to actually rip a card from their hand if you know your opponent's strategy, it feels really good when it hits, and frankly, it can set them really far behind. It's another one of those, though, you really would ideally have a different turn 1. Gurinden shows up better in turn, or resource 5 maybe, or on your flip turn. So
yeah, 100%. I think that people want to know, though, what is the serial number that you got for this one?
Oh, I'd have to go look at it now. It's somewhere in the pile of cards I haven't unpacked. So I will bring that up and we'll post it somewhere. Yeah. All right. So let's move on to the next part. Cards that control the board. Here's the first one.
Yeah, this is a really, I mean, 2 ways you can look at this is, being able to take any X5 out is really key, like if 3 5s, because you got Cad Bane ping, plus you got a 4 attack. This is a very nice card to control boards if there's something that you need to take out, but at the same time allows you to also be aggressive. This card, because you're using so much of your cards, it has an on attack ability that if you have a red card in the discard aggression, you can put it in the bottom of your deck and deal a damage. So basically you're attacking for 5 damage. I mean, yeah. Doing that 6 times, you win the game.
That's true. It is a small clock for a big unit here. Keeps changing things. Sorry. We're gonna cover these 2 next together because I hit the button twice. We have collateral damage, which is another one of those incidental chip damage kind of spells, but also the ability to take out 2 units potentially when you're combining with Cad Bane's ability as well is a relatively big deal. Because of Cad Bane's ping, you really don't need to play something like Let's Call It War to get some bigger stuff, because you can already do 3+2 on 1 turn as it is. You don't need to play games by having initiative. But tell me about Volscaris' Defender.
Yeah. So, obviously, being someone who really liked the Subalba leader, being able to like discard from your deck because of the ability gives you that shield. But if you have BT1, you'll be able to get the shield. But if not, though, still though, this card is one of those really key important cards to kind of annoy space. Like you're already controlling space a little bit, but this is a very safe kind of a fail safe for you in case something happens. You can attack, ping something, take something else out, and then tap down their big Voltron guy.
Yeah,
So
the
he's very
exhaust effect
annoying.
is a big deal, I think, in this case.
Yeah, 100%. But I think he's a very sticky unit. Of course, you got the OG.
Yep, the IG 2000. I love this card too. It really always finds its way into a Cad Bane deck for me. Even going back to Cad Bane 1.
Oh yeah, 100%. Doing 3 damage to something, chipping. You're trading the board. You have a bunch of X1s out there. Nothing better than setting up a good clean wipe.
Yeah, and with Cad Bane Leader's ability not being able to do that last point of damage, you can set up at least a unit, maybe two, by the time this guy shows up in some cases, to help wipe the board out with IG 2000. It's definitely a board swing, in my opinion. All right.
Yep.
So, continuing to control the board. Talk about everybody's favorite crab.
Man, this card is one of the best cards in the game.
I love this card.
I don't know what FFG was thinking, to be quite honest. To do 5 damage and there's no restriction, you can do it to any ground unit. You do deleters.
Well, there is a restriction, and the
bonkers.
restriction is that it has to be against a damaged unit, but there happens to be a leader that we may be talking about that makes that kind of trivial to do. So, you're right. It's kind of
and then give it grit on top of that.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, it's a very very strong card, but at 6 he's starting to want to see strong cards. So, what's another one we got here?
Yeah, I use this as one of those tap effects, right? Do 2 things at once. You are maybe stopping an attack, maybe stopping, maybe they flip, they might do like some kind of a pluck card, or maybe they put an upgrade on a unit. You can just tap this down. So you're kind of in a way controlling the board in the sense that it's still on the board, but you are dictating that this is not going to do damage, this is not going to affect your side temporarily, and then at the same time get information.
Yeah, one of my favorite ways to use this last set, and I didn't do it often, but once in a while, like when Lando would flip and set up his big turn, you could then hold him for questioning and take out at least one of the big threats. Now they started to hold multiple big threats by the end of the set, and so it wasn't quite as good by then. But that is an example of a time when just getting a unit exhausted and then discarding a card that they might be about to play can really come in handy. I also like to use it against Obi-Wan. Like you can saber him up now if you want, but I'm going to pull one of them out of there and he can't attack with it. So
yes, my favorite targets for this is against Towson. When they use the force, then you tap it down and they lost the force.
Yeah, that's fair. Let's talk about some obscure cards though. What the heck are you doing running this card?
It's a plan, man. It's a plan to pursue the lead. Yeah, this is a terrible card. So I gotta just say, what the heck is going on? But it works. It's effective. It's just 2 resources. Choose a player. That player discards a card from their hand, and if it costs 3 or less, create a spy token. Now, I think you kind of been convinced that after a bit you were skeptical, but then you kind of started to see a little bit that it's pretty cool. And just think about it. If your sole focus is to discard people's hands, what is that kind of purpose it serves? Is 2 things, right? I don't really care about the spy token. Spy token is a bonus for me. That's fine. But it's really about, are you going to discard a play in the beginning that you might play in the first 2-3 turns of the game, or are you discarding your payoff card for later on? And that's kind of the dilemma of what you got to choose.
Yeah, the dilemma early is a real pain, and you can put somebody under a lot of pressure to feel like they have to choose between game now and game later. And when we're talking about some of the other cards that we were just talking about, you may just have put them in a position where they have chosen game later and then they have to discard it because of this card too. It's only a 2 cost discard a card. It's not that much. So you could do 2+2 on resource 4 or 2+3 on 5 if you also wanted to find ways to keep applying pressure without necessarily compromising the board.
100%.
See if it's going to go. There we go. It took me a second. Next up, we got the mid-range sharpshooter, which actually does basically the same thing we were just talking about, except in this case, it develops the board and causes a discard. I don't really see this one as a 3-drop. It's almost always going to be a 4-drop unless you're absolutely desperate. But a 3/3 Saboteur isn't the worst. And if you combine that with the rest of the discard that you can play here, I do find this to be a very effective way to continue whittling down their hand.
Yep, that is the absolute goal. This deck takes a little bit of practice to play, but you kind of notice that it doesn't really matter when you don't have cards in your hand and you're not getting that much pressure and you're chipping in damage with these cards that cost 2-3 power and have 2 to 3 power over time. That kind of starts to like increment little by little by little, where it just really doesn't matter. Your Cad Bane's a 4 cost. I mean, 4 power. This is just a 3, but you're still kind of like doing the damage anyways.
Yep, chipping away at it. And this thing is really lagging with me tonight. Sorry about that. Bring us to our last guy. He's clumsy as he is stupid.
Yes. By the way, the it's the click. It's because it's set on click, so you have to click in order for the next guy. Not the keyboard.
Sorry, guys.
Okay. So Admiral Ozzel. All right. I know we talked about Cad Bane Blue, but this is a risky. I would recommend if you're playing a blue against a blue leader, that's villainy. I will not play this card. I just want to preface by saying.
Why is that?
Well, we have a card named No Glory, No Results.
That's exactly right.
And they basically can use that, and then now you're discarding. And if they were playing Thrawn, now you're discarding too. We don't want to do that. We don't want to put ourselves in that position.
However,
yes. But if you're playing another deck, that's 3 power. That's something that you, with a ping, you can take out a unit, you can trade, and then punish them by also discarding a card. They lost the unit on board and one in hand.
Yep. So he helps control both the board and provide tempo with this card as well. Just don't get got. Like, we're going to keep reminding you of this one. Don't get got by No Glory only results. That will make you sad as soon as you play it and get hit by it. All right. Let's go to the next one. We're on flex cards. Why is this one a flex?
Yeah. So I think you can. I think once you see the deck list, I think there's slots to scale back some of the discard, and you can just have like 2 or 3 copies of certain things. But I think this card is a natural fit to what Cad wants to do. Being able to take out an X4 over 2 turns or an X3 right away next turn is very important. It just synergizes so well.
Yeah.
But I think there's a way to definitely shift a little bit of the cards to fit this in it. But this is one of my favorite cards out there.
Cards that synergize with damaged units tend to go pretty well in Cad decks, and I think that's a good example of it. This is another good example of it. The punishing one, where you can spread out some damage after a while, and if they're getting wide enough, then you threaten them with punishing one to play either catch up or get further ahead by a lot, or it can just help clean up the rest of the board. It doesn't have to get +8 raid. It can you could use it just for +1 or something. I think all of the use cases of punishing one are still pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And everybody's favorite card.
Yeah, I mean, it's I started out with a 1 and I kept it at 1, and then I just I cut it for testing. But this should be there because the idea is, if I am discarding cards from my opponent, I naturally over time will have more cards than them. And then the payoff of this whole thing is that you have more cards in your hand, and then you can use that for aggressive negotiations.
Yep. And generally speaking, a 1-action pump similar to Surprise Strike, even if it's not quite as good as Surprise Strike before it rotated, is still very good to have on hand. All right. So let's go to the next part. We're going to filter to the end of the game plan. We're going to cheat with Qui-Gon.
Yes, we are. I like this guy a lot. A 3/5 Sentinel. It's in the way. It serves a purpose. 2 things, right? Just being able to like shield your Cad or buy a little bit of more time. And then the big part though is filtering. You're like, I don't really need discard right now. I actually need to find my late game bombs, and he's just going to help with that. It's a bonus if you could untap and do it again. I think that's worth it, but I think his when played ability is still really effective.
Yep, when played is great. If you get to attack with him, great. But he's a when played Sentinel that helps you get rid of a card that may not be useful. So we're gonna go ahead and continue with the win condition, though. I do love this card. This is one of my favorite cards.
All right, I think this card is insane right now. I think it's bonkers. I mean, I've used this as a win condition. I've used this to put it on a unit, and it just incrementally just did two over and over and over, and you're controlling the game in a way where it's just like a paper cut until
Yep.
you just are dead.
It starts putting them into positions where they have to deal with it, and at this point, the idea of this deck is to have run them out of answers for everything. So even if they can deal with the first one, maybe the second one catches them, or maybe you're thinking about it clearly and only play it on a non-unique unit, so they can't just replace it. Um, it's not bad on unique units all the time. Sometimes you just need something to stay exhausted a little extra time, but it's definitely the best when it's on a non-unique unit that they have a hard time of just playing a new one to replace it, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I put some details here that I think the one thing that you need to kind of realize is, yes,
Sorry.
what happens if your opponent top decks something? You know, this is the stopper. So like I've had people just play like, oh, they got the Previsla. Sure, they might kill one unit, but then now you just put this on there, and now it's just a tapped 6/6.
Yep.
It's okay. You're basically like you have the stoppers to punish them from like getting their bomb. They're like, oh, I can finally play something, but you're like, cool, but now it's tapped, and now we continue this game again.
Yeah, one of my favorite current targets is the Rebellious Hammerhead, actually, since it's seeing a lot of play. That is non-unique, but it does have a large impact on the board. So if it just didn't wake up and kept doing 2 damage for you, that tends to be a good way to handle it outside of getting smacked in the face. And
100%.
now, let's get to the flip turn.
Oh, Sharky, you cover this.
All right.
You let the people know about how powerful this could be.
So, just from the combination you might see on screen, we have Cad Bane, who's a 4/7 Overwhelm. He gets to do 1 damage to a unit with 2 or more health. So, with that Overwhelm and no other cards, he's possibly just doing up to 3 damage to base. And on this turn, if you happen to also have 2 sudden ferocities in the row, you can play both of them and be swinging for 10. He becomes a 10/7. While most of the time it's not the best play to play both sudden ferocities, the option being there and not burning cards from your hand for the other aggressive negotiations we were talking about is a very powerful effect. Sometimes it is the right play to play both, but it doesn't have to always be that way. You can also split it between like a 3 and a 2, for example. The 2 being Garindon, where maybe you've played Hold for Questioning already and you know what's in their hand, so you flip, you sudden ferocity, and you play Garindon to pull the only answer they have out of there. Suddenly Cad Bane is on a race, and it's really hard to keep that up. A couple of other options there. 3 is actually a pretty good cost across the board. There's a lot of 3 cost things in this deck. So supplementing 1 sudden ferocity with another 3 cost can also make your flip turn very hard to recover from for the opponent. In some ways, while it's a turn later, it's very similar to Talzin in that the flip turn can kind of decide games. However impactful you make it, it can be really hard to recover from if the opponent has no answer for him.
Yeah, 100%. I've also, even against certain decks where they are, maybe they want to control you or they have removal or something, you always even have the threat of saying, I won't deploy.
Yeah.
I won't deploy. You will deal with my units. And then at the right moment where you have to use your resources, and I haven't, I just flip and hit you for 10. So there's that threat. There's always that hidden threat. You don't have to deploy. You can always use this later.
Yep. And the longer you wait to deploy, the more Garindons you can play on flip turn. You can do a sudden ferocity and 2 Garindons from the row on 7 if it ends up being the right play. That is something I have done a few times, and Garindon being as flexible as he is still one of the reasons he's one of my favorite cards. So, anything else to cover here?
Nope.
All right. The closers. This is one of the most powerful new red tools that we got. So all the Cad Banes can use this one, but it's especially effective in this deck. Why is that?
I mean, they are put in a really tough spot. Even when you get to 7 resources, you have to make a decision of, I have 2 cards. I got to play it. What do I do? Do I hold this and just play it right away? Or am I going to get really punished? And that's kind of like the game that you have to play. Is like there's a perfect timing for it. But basically, when you do Ninth Sister, they're probably going to have 1 card in hand, or might be 2, but you punish them, and it's going to be more effective that you're going to get a card that costs a lot.
Yep. Most of the time you can get there. The other option is if it is 2 cards and they're trying to hold them because of an Ice Sister and they're holding a crappy card, then you kind of already got rid of a good card anyway. At least that's how I like to look at it. So yeah, it turns into a mini overwhelming barrage. You get better with the discard strategy. Overwhelm is also something I actually, the first time I tested with Nine Sister, forgot that she had. That is an insane unit. 8/7 Overwhelm. Um, it's just a lot of damage.
I gotta say, really quick though, do you compare this to our other 7-drop Cad Bane unit, like the one that captures? Do you think that's
Uh,
better?
I don't know. I think they're both good in different situations. It's rather
Okay.
hard for me to pick which one I'd rather have right now. I do miss that old Cad Bane. Don't get me wrong. It's an amazing card too. Smaller stats, less
100%.
overwhelm though, but you get extra card draw sometimes. Um, that being said,
Mhm.
there's something that's also not up for debate, and that is Devastator is a phenomenal closer as well.
I mean, I I'm gonna be very sad when this rotates. I'm gonna be quite honest with you.
Another
I don't
six,
know how
eight
many
months.
times I have I don't know how many times I've killed people when they're at 26 just for that 4 damage.
Yep. Yep. A lot of times
Yeah.
it's also fun. Fun is it's also funny how many times I notice that I'm the one racing to 26 instead of racing to 30 just to make sure I can get across the line with the Devastator. It's not always in hand when I'm trying to do that either. Sometimes you have to find a way to get to it eventually. But with 3 of them in the deck, the chances of you seeing it throughout the game are pretty high.
Yeah.
So obviously it needs to be
Yeah,
answered.
just
You can use it to clean up the board, but I prefer to use it on the base. All right, so tell me
yeah,
how to play the deck.
100%. Yeah. Uh it takes a little bit of time to play it. You'll notice that if you start to kind of control them by tapping them, discarding them, the game turns very grindy and very slow, which you'll notice that you'll have no damage on base, very like low damage, and you're kind of you turn the corner when you get to like your flip turn, because Cad Bane's going to take out pretty much most of the units on the ground, and then you kind of just take over and go to the late game, and it's just very powerful. So, but you have to know when to be aggressive. I think we were playing, and I think you were talking about like a game, and that you said maybe you shouldn't have that resource the Ninth Sister, and I said you're right. I was looking for my bomb for multiple turns. I couldn't find it, and I think that's where you got to notice. Okay, look, there's enough discard. You got to start holding on to some of these high cost stuff so you can play it at the right time to close it out.
Yeah. Yep. I remember that game. There was a couple times where we talk about it too. Like go back and look at it. Like you had some good points as to why you kept the hand you did. Sometimes you do need those discard things, and you need cards to play immediately. But yeah, knowing when to resource the bombs and like switch between aggression and discard, and it's rare, but they sometimes overlap. But knowing when to switch between the two modes is something that takes a bit of getting used to with this deck. But once you get it, once you put the reps in, it can really pay off.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it'll take a little bit of time, but here's the deck list.
Yep.
Here's what it looks like right now. It's been refined a little bit, but there's a lot of room for improvement, a lot of tweaks, and I think that's like the exciting part about sharing this with a community is to say, here's an idea, uh, go run with it. Let us know feedback. Let us know what's working, what's not, and kind of work together to see, if there's something here.
Yeah. It is really heavy on the discard, so that is something to keep in mind when you're playing it. But we have found it to at least be pretty successful. It's more targeted towards Cad Bane Blue, and so the areas of focus actually should be against. I mean, you can run it against Cad Bane Blue too, but I want to know where else it works, where else it fails, because I'm pretty sure we haven't found a lot of the weaknesses for it because we've been so dedicated to the Cad Bane Blue menace. But we can be
Yeah,
a
but
menace too.
I even played this against space decks, and you're able to clear board really with Syril and keep the board clear, and then you
Yep.
know I think when you're playing cheaper units, low costing units, your Syril it punishes them a little bit more because they're going to run out of cards like very quickly.
Yeah. And one thing I also want to point out that this is a work in progress is while we have Justifier here and we talked about punishing one, they both kind of cover the same ground. So deciding between the two of them is also one of the things that jumps out to me as a area for further exploration. So if you have any comments on which one you like better and why, I would love to hear from you.
Yeah, 100%. Give it a try. Let us know, and hope you enjoyed the video for this very different take. I bet people are like, this is not what I expected to see, but give it a try, give it a chance. Still testing other versions, of course. We got a lot of time to Galactics, and I'm pretty sure there'll be some really cool stuff coming out.
Yeah. Well, this has been it for myself with the Colorado Cantina crew. I'm Sharky, and I'm here with Yodakiller from the Bothan Network, and we would love to hear from you in the future. Leave a comment and let us know what you think.